So I'd just like to say, hello and welcome to our How to Get a Graduate Job in Recruitment webinar. And we are really, really lucky that Give a Grad a Go colleagues have come to help us with this webinar. And we have Carrie Curtis, who is CEO and founder of Give a Grad a Go. We have Katie Clough, who is the Community and Partnerships Executive, and Izzy Bressist, who is, did I get that? I got that right, didn't I?
That's perfect.
Account manager and partner. So they all have come in to the industry in different places, in different ways. And so they will all be able to give you differing views and their experience and ideas on how to get into recruitment. So as Carrie is the founder, Carrie, I'm going to start with you. My first question. Tell us what you do, what your role is specifically, and also how you think that you can get a graduate job into today's market.
First of all, hi everyone. Thanks very much for joining. I suppose in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis now, I mean, that is as varied as it gets. We have quite a few kind of internal teams now which report into me. And so I delegate out work and hope that it gets done, and those team leads come back and tell me how it's been going. So Katie, for example, come up with some ideas to put together some webinars and then get me involved in them, and then I can see how they're doing firsthand, or I get to report it back as to how they've gone. In terms of kind of careers in recruitment and I suppose the attributes that we look for people who want to try and come into the industry. I think first of all that we'll do some of the misconceptions, which is that it's like a really brutal kind of sales kind of dog eat dog world out there. I think there's definitely been a change in the industry since we were incorporated just over 10 years ago, when it probably was a bit more kind of brutal. Now it's the industry is very much a very people first focused business. Good recruiters want to make sure they're doing the best job for not only for their clients, but also for their candidates. And within that, it's a highly kind of empathetic, understanding, yet hardworking industry. So the nice thing about recruitment tends to be, the harder you work, the more people you end up helping, the more jobs you end up kind of getting people. And within that, there's potentially some quite lucrative kind of bonuses or financial awards that come with that. So you need to be a little bit kind of driven and motivated within that part too. But there's a very quick snapshot of kind of some attributes, which I'm sure we'll cover more later. But then what I do, which is a bit more of a dog's body these days than.
Have you always been in recruitment, Carrie? What was how obviously you set the company up 10 years ago, but what were your roles prior to that? What track your career path?
Yeah, I've always been in sales-based roles. So when I left university, I worked in financial sales, worked at 3 or 4 different companies before then deciding to try and create a business of my own. I knew at the end of those jobs what I did and didn't want to do. And I think there was some great learning. Some great different areas of learning as to what I was good at and what I wasn't good at building up to that. And that helped me kind of come up with the idea of a recruitment business, even though it wasn't meant to be a recruitment business at the start of the recruitment business, but turned into a recruitment business. But it also helped us to create probably a very different way of working to what a lot of other recruitment companies do, having never done a day's work of recruitment in my life before starting up a recruitment business. So there was a very fast learning curve there too.
So what was it initially supposed to be about then, your business?
Well, Give a Grad Go was always meant to be a meeting place for people entering the world of work after university, and then companies being able to find really good people really quickly. What we were meant to do was build out this portal, and there's a few now which are kind of trying to do it, but back then where the premise was just getting lots of kind of grads to sign up, finding lots of companies that were going to be happy to take on grads and give them really good opportunities and for them to meet each other on a portal. The business as it is now is a lot more of a hands-on approach to how those introductions are made. But within that, we've then based it around a recruitment business in that we charge a fee for that service once we've actually placed someone in a job. So that's where the similarities of recruitment business are, but then the way in which we deal with candidates is a little bit different.
And did you leave university and go straight into a graduate role from like a milk round kind of environment, or did you find the role yourself? How did you get your first role?
Yeah, no, I found him. Another part of the backstory of Give a Grad a Go is that when I came out of university, I just remember being just completely lost in the way in which the world of work was kind of like unraveling before me. Throughout university, I did bar jobs and waiting and stuff like that, and I learned customer service skills and really enjoyed that work. When I came out of university, I'd never done an office job before. And so it was then actually going to interviews and talking about things which I'd never done before and had no idea about and had no coaching or no support in the build up to that. And that's further down the line. A lot of what's actually come into Give a Grad a Go is actually trying to make that process a lot smoother. But no, the coming out of university, being just kind of like, hit job boards, what do I do? That was quite a daunting place, and that it actually took me quite a long time to find the right job.
And what about you, Izzy, then? The whole kind of finishing university, coming out of university, trying to work out what you wanted to do and how it worked. How did that happen with you?
Yeah, I think like pretty much all graduates, and like Carrie was saying, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't even know the definition of different job titles. So you could tell me, this is what an analyst does, this is what a client services person does, and I actually wouldn't know. And I felt quite overwhelmed, and I did the classic thing of going traveling, thinking that I'd come to kind of some magic solution, and I didn't. And I started off in a travel sales role, which was fun. I had a lot of fun, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted in my career. Went to recruitment, had a pretty unpleasant experience, and decided, right, that's it, I'm out, I don't like recruitment. And then came to Give a Grad a Go for their help, because I just needed somebody to say, okay, well, these are your skills and these are your attributes and this is what you want and these are the kind of positions that could be of interest. And the one that I kept thinking about was Give a Grad a Go, and that's how I ended up in recruitment, because it's really difficult to do it on your own and figure out what you want when you are so fresh and you've not got loads of experience. And that's where I think entry-level recruiters add a lot of value. And certainly to me, I ended up in a sector I didn't expect to be in, but it's so much fun.
What did you study at university, Izzy?
At history, I studied history at Newcastle, so again, not a very specific degree. It teaches you a lot of skills, but it's not a really clear career path that you take from that, which is anything. But I did really benefit from that extra help from Give a Grad a Go.
And so, right, so now you work in recruiting and you are a recruiter. Can you tell us day to day what your job role really entails?
Yeah, I absolutely can, but it's not sort of a really prescriptive, at 9 a.m. you do this and at 6 p.m. you do this. It does vary. So I am a key account manager and I've also got a team. So it's my job to make sure that I'm supporting my team, but it's also my job to work with clients. So I tend to work with the larger clients that are looking to scale and grow and hire a lot of people a lot of the time in one go. And so I need to help them make those hires, find the right people, and also help them develop how they want to be represented. What do they want their culture to be represented? What do they want the role to be? And what kind of candidates and grads are they looking for? So it's my job to interview candidates, find out what they're looking for, and then match them together. So that's part of my role. I also do a work on mental health. I think that a happy workforce is going to be a very productive and healthy workforce. So that will be sort of more sporadically a bit of my day, supporting anybody that might need some extra time. And then again, going back to that team piece, making sure that my team is supported and that they are given the support they need for their career aims. Where do they want to be? What do they want to progress into? And then I guess I do a little bit with senior management as well, where we're looking more at strategy and how we can grow the business and what support and training people might be wanting. So it's not a set day, and I think that's what's really exciting about recruitment. You can be doing so many different things each week and speaking to so many different clients and candidates. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I suppose you have to really get in. I mean, with so many different clients, you must really have to get into their brand and understand all their different characteristics of all the different clients. So you must get to meet so many different industries within.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's something which I perhaps have taken for granted in the past, that as a graduate, I started Give Grad a go at like 24. And I don't think at a young age you would get exposure to speak to directors, C-level founders of companies when you've not got a huge amount of experience and understanding firsthand what do they want from their business, where do they want to be. And these conversations are so exciting and they're a real privilege to be involved with, and it's something that I think recruitment gives you exposure to than perhaps other businesses with really large organizations. You get to see it firsthand.
And do you, with regard to your team or teams within, and any of you can answer this, obviously, Izzy, you are on the side of you're on the kind of your client side. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have all the graduate side, so the people that are coming in, is that. So do you find that people definitely go one side or the other, or they can switch over? And what is the role of somebody who's working with the graduates rather than working with the clients?
Yeah, so that would be sort of the entry level position that we look at and Give a Grad a go. So you start off as a resourcer, which we all start off as on the sales team. And that person is totally candidate focused, and that's where it's really exciting. We're getting thousands of applications each month, so you can imagine the amount of people that you're speaking to and the different experiences and backgrounds, and you're finding out what they're looking for, what kind of role, what type of salary, where do they want to work, what skills they want to be using. And it's your job to make sure that candidate is supported and has an amazing experience. And then you'll start bringing those candidates and those profiles to the consultants who look after clients and saying, okay, you mentioned you're looking for an analyst in a finance company who is very sporty. And you can say, I just spoke to this amazing candidate that ticks all of those boxes. Do you want to have a chat? So you eventually then move and start doing the client work too. But to begin with, you just stay candidate focused.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Katie, your role is a bit different. Do you want to explain how you came to work at Give a Grad a go, what your background is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to university at Nottingham and did English and philosophy. And people always laugh at me when I tell them the real reason why I chose that subject. It was because I knew that I wasn't going to get the grades to do just English, so I added philosophy onto it as well. But yeah, that was great. I had the best time at uni, and when I was there, I got involved with a lot of societies, and one of those was the Charity Society. So I was involved with a lot of fundraising. I was going out doing bucket collections on the street, getting involved with different kind of projects. Even if it was paid, gave me so much experience, and that led to my first graduate job as an assistant at Macmillan Cancer Support. And then when my sort of time came to the end there and I was ready to move on into another early careers role, I had heard about Give a Grad a go through my friend that worked there. And I said, can you get me a job? I'm looking for something. I know that Give a Grad a go got you a job. They've got loads of people we know jobs. I know how helpful they are. Get me one, please. And he said, yeah, sure. So I went to an assessment centre, unfortunately didn't get it. But Carrie somehow got to hear about what I could offer and perhaps bring to the business. And I got invited in to Give a Grad a go to join their team. And I think this is a really unique situation that I'm very, very thankful for. So I applied for a role at Give a Grad a go as the marketing executive, which would have been very focused on content creation, helping with the digital marketing, which still is a large aspect of my role. But because of my experience before with partners, especially those charity partners that I'd worked with, not just in my first role out of university, but whilst I was there as well. And Carrie even said to me at one point during the interview process, why don't you write down your job spec, write out your own job spec, and then we'll see if we think that could be useful. And luckily, Give a Grad a Go did find that really useful. And it's honestly been amazing. I sort of echo what Izzy said about, even though we work on different roles, completely agree, every day is different. So I get involved a lot with the webinar series that we launched earlier this year. I speak to people every day, and yeah, again, really incredible people. Some of our guest speakers and our partners, like you, Naomi, it's just absolute joy to work with. And it's a great combination of doing the partnerships and communications from that aspect, but also still doing some of that marketing and writing, which comes from my English degree. Yeah, slightly different story, but that's how I got to be here today.
Within that, we always give people a writing test when they're interviewing for us. I think the fact that Katie's writing test was to write her own job spec was a bit of a curve, but then it's quite important into what we do as well as a business. So it was a two-pronged attack, but she wrote a very good job spec. So here we are.
Thank you.
Obviously, you said when people interview for you, you give them a writing test. What other things do you do when people interview for you, and what kind of things do you look for? Because obviously Katie had what you were looking for, but it'd be interesting to see what that is.
We're quite thorough on our interviewing, but then we're also testing for skills which either people don't know that they've got or have never tried before. So one of the things that we always do is we give everyone a half day to come in, sit on a desk, talk to everyone within the business, actually just get a feel for what it's like to work in what is just this big open room, which is quite noisy, quite energetic. That part is not for everyone. But then just getting to sit next to people who are doing the job, which they're going to be coming in to do for the first time, we think is hugely beneficial, particularly for people applying. But then also getting us getting to see how people integrate with people they don't know, because that's a huge part of recruitment too. We then asked them to do a couple of phone calls whereby they're actually pretending to work at Give a Grad a Go, and they're going to be speaking to a candidate, which is normally one of us, just so they have, we give them a CV, and we ask them just to kind of like think about how they would go about doing a candidate interview. And so from that, what we're looking for is how engaging they are over the phone, how easy it is for them to build rapport. Can they keep a conversation going, even when some of the answers which come back are not what they are expecting, and how they think on the feet. That's kind of what we're looking for in that. We record those phone calls and then we play them back, so the people who aren't on the call can listen to them to see how well the candidate has actually dealt with the call. Apart from that, we just sit down and have a chat, because that's quite a big part of recruitment too.
And I'm looking at some of these bubbles on the screen here, which are really interesting questions. What opportunities can being a recruiter give you, do you think?
I think if you were to ask the team what the biggest buzz they get out of their day, and that would be the minute that they can make the phone call to a candidate they've been working with for sometimes days, sometimes weeks, but sometimes months. You can make that call and say, sit down, I've got some really good news for you, and you'll get screaming, shouting, tears, everything, particularly when someone's been looking for quite some time. So I think from the like just as a reward, kind of like an emotional reward, that of all the jobs that I've had, that by far outstrips any other experience that I've had for that. If you get really, really good at it and you start placing loads of people, you can actually make a really good income for yourself. And a lot of people go into recruitment for a few years, and then are able to start their own business. So it's a good way of being able to stockpile some money if you've got aspirations of setting up your own company too. But in terms of the progression that you get, I think people who really stick at recruiting, this is common, I think, for the people who work and give a Grad a go compared to their friends, their friend sets. You get to progress very quickly. You get a lot of responsibility given to you quite quickly. And if you've been in the business 3 or 4 years, you literally have your own section of the business, which is your own, pretty much, and then you have a huge amount of say into the way in which the business develops and how the strategy for the business moves on going forward. So there are some huge doors which can open if you stick at it for actually not that long a time.
And Carrie, you spoke about that kind of buzz when you've got a job that you've been working for a long period of time, or you filled a role. Have you got a specific career high that you remember that you could tell us about?
This question's a really tough one because there's different highs. There are collective team highs, and then there are individual team highs. I think last year was a really tough year for recruiters and for every industry pretty much. And I think getting back on track, and we got to a point when everything had been shut down, to hitting 100 placements together for that 2020 from lockdown in March. So I think it was about July, and we felt really great. Like, okay, we're back in action, and we felt sort of cohesive and strong again, and that was amazing. And I think the other high is probably making partner and becoming key account manager in 2019. Just because I don't think I'd ever expected I'd be able to progress to that level before I was 30, and it's really a testament to, I guess, what the progression looks like at Give a Grad a Go, but also the industry as a whole and what you can achieve.
Yeah, that's cool. And what about you, Katie? Because obviously you're slightly different. Have you had any recent highs that something you've been really proud of or something?
So there's a few, and yeah, definitely to echo what Izzy said, there's a few personal highs of the work I've been doing independently, but I definitely find the best ones are in a team. So, for example, I mean, just off the top of my head, our last month in the marketing team, we broke a few of our records in terms of traffic to the website. We did a lot of work on the digital side of things, so looking at Google Analytics and links there really improved that. So we got a record number of these links, which we call our golden links. So that, I think it's always so great to achieve something and do something on your own. And I think personally, for me independently, these webinars that we've been working on are something I'm really proud of. But it's you get I think I get more excited, more proud of my colleagues when it's something that we've done in a team. And yeah, I would say most recently it would have been really beating those targets as a team, because it just puts all that collective effort. It makes it so much worth it when you see how happy everyone else is as well. So yeah, definitely.
I think it's really nice to hear that you all talk about it being a team, because I mean, I'm a bit more of a dinosaur, but often you look at, the whole graduate role, and I think, Carrie, you might be able to answer this, as you said, it was very much, very cutthroat, and you obviously wanted to place the most people to make the most money. So how do you get that kind of degree of team sportsmanship when people are still trying to make money on their own individual placements?
Yeah, I think I do think it's really important that everyone has their own individual targets that they need to bring to the team, so they know what their contribution could and should be. And everyone is, people's career progression is based on that individual input into the business. But then something that we instill really from day one is that the resourcer can't do their jobs without the consultants can't do their jobs without the marketing team, the management team can't do their jobs without absolutely everyone contributing as well. So there's a relatively flat kind of structure through the business in that regard, but it is, we also look for people that enjoy team sports or working or have got experience of working within a team and enjoyed that before. We don't look for too many kind of individualists who just want self-recognition. And I actually think that has definitely kind of transcended through the industry a lot more now than it did, those 10, 15 years ago, when it was more of a look at me, I'm the best type, and then everyone wanting just to try and battle it out to be top dog. I think that those days of, thankfully, are in the past.
Okay, so on that note, what kind of person that comes through your door are you looking for to be a recruiter?
So I'll answer this bit for me is, and then I'm sure you'll probably, because you actually look for people day to day. For us, we've always kind of pitched what we do as, imagine you were meeting up with a group of friends or one of your friends from uni who's bringing a group of friends with them who you've never met before. And then you've got to try and just sit down and feel at ease and have a conversation with them and try and, just try and hold your own in that conversation when you've never met any of them before. And how would you enjoy doing that? And so what we find that some of the people that work for us, if there's kind of like a holiday being planned for a group of mates, these are the guys who are planning the holidays, who basically get everything done and enjoy the idea of trying to collect a lot of information off of a bunch of people who might not be that great at getting information together, but then also dealing with travel agents and airlines and stuff like that, because that's your kind of account management and client relationship type stuff. So with that's the kind of way we position it in a kind of who people are considered within their peer group, if that's the right way of putting it. But then actually speaks to people day to day, and then send me people going, we should definitely speak to this person because I think they're fab.
I think there's two parts of it as well. I think the first thing that you will probably want to do in order to get that conversation and get a recruiter on the phone is focus on your CV. And this is universal, and this is just career advice, I guess, across the board. It's so important to have a personal profile at the top of your CV outlining what it is that you're wanting to do, because there's nothing sort of more off-putting than seeing a CV which has clearly been sent out exactly the same to 100 different employers. You want to be able to explicitly demonstrate that you've looked at this company and you're interested. So, for example, if you're applying to us, saying that you're looking at graduate recruitment, or if we were a digital specialist agency, so only recruiting people in marketing, digital roles, expressing your interest in that space and demonstrating skills that you think are relevant to the company you're applying to. And for me, the kind of skills that really stand out are time management skills, especially if you've worked during school, during university. That's amazing, because that shows you can juggle your academic career and you've got a great work ethic too, and you're able to juggle both. Or you might have done sports, or you might have been in the theatre society, that you've done more than go to school and go home. That is really exciting for me when I can see that on someone's CV. And also, I think it's about attitude and caring and showing that you've got a positive attitude. And sometimes things, go wrong, but it's like, can you take a step away and come back to it with a clear mindset, with determination, and get cracking? And honestly, I think with those two elements, you will be successful in recruitment, or in anything really.
Are there anything different that one would look at, Katie, if you think you would be recruiting in a marketing kind of role? Any other kind of attributes you think are important to your team?
So I think with our team, and something that I learned with marketing in particular, is to really look at the label and the way that job role has been named. I think Izzy touched on this quite briefly earlier. When I came out of university, I would see marketing executive, marketing assistant, marketing manager, digital marketing. And I thought, what do all these mean? I was like, it's all the same thing. We've just changed the name. I was very wrong and naive. That's not the case at all. And what I've come to learn, particularly in my role now and having experience in marketing, is that the skills that, for example, a digital marketer might need is very different to a content marketer. So, for example, with that specifically, a digital marketer could be someone who's very analytical, really enjoys problem solving, looking at graphs, working out like averages, percentages, almost a bit sort of mathematically minded. Whereas with content writing, that would be perfect for someone who is quite creative, loved writing blogs, loved writing in different styles, changing their tone to different companies, clients, partners, anyone that they might be targeting it to. I mean, that's just an example of marketing, but I think the way around that as a student or graduate or someone who is just simply looking for a job is to come and speak to the recruiter, because it's definitely something that I didn't realise until I learned from Give a Grad a Go what these titles mean. And the best thing about I think being a student and working with Give a Grad a Go in particular is that you can come and say, here's what I really enjoy, and they'll say, okay, you'd want to be looking at more this kind of role. We'll keep an eye out for you, and you keep an eye out for roles with this specific title, so that you're not overwhelmed with a million marketing advertisements on the job boards and online. So yeah, that's probably where I would add to it, because I appreciate how confusing it can be having all the different job titles.
Totally. Now, with regard to Give a Grad a Go, and obviously some people on this call may be graduates on this webinar, other people could possibly be about to graduate or in their second year or third year of university. So if you're not graduates as yet, how can they use your portal to gain information, or where can they look to gain more information to understand all these different things? Or, you know, you've obviously got loads and loads of content, Katie, that you're providing people at the moment. Give us, let people understand a bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll actually take that opportunity quite nicely to pop to the next slide. Just if anyone is on this call and does want to get involved with the kind of additional content and resources we use, please feel free to firstly scan the QR code and join our Go Network Facebook group. I'll explain a little bit more now about the type of things we talk about on there, but that is the hub. You will be updated on everything there. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we do, and I also want to highlight, because I know that this isn't always the case, which surprised me, but all of our services and all of our content to students, graduates and job seekers is completely free. We never charge any of the students and candidates that we work with. And a few opportunities we have endless competitions. So at the moment, we've just launched a new Love Yourself Valentine's Day one. So those are great to get involved with from sort of a personal perspective. But from more based on the career side, the best thing that I love, because this is something that I really wanted to do at university and never found anywhere, is our student blog. So it's written for students by students. You don't have to be studying English. You don't have to be amazing at content and have loads of experience. It's simply for you to practice, get involved, and you'll work with Lydia, who sits in our marketing team, and she'll help you get an understanding of what could be more expected from writing that blog. And for me, I think that is a perfect thing that you can do that's free. It's relatively quick and easy to do. I'll link to that on our website as well. And if you've got experience doing that kind of thing, that's the sort of skill that you need to then go into a content marketing role. So that's just one example of the actual activities that we're offering. Of course, we've got our webinar series, which are focusing on different careers as we go along, and also careers advice across all the industries. We also have our CV templates hub, interview tips. I could go on forever about all the things we've got, and we do actually have a slide after this one. I don't know if it's worth popping to that now, just with a few more links on here that might be worth you guys having a look at in the background. So yeah, as I mentioned, our partnerships, we're offering £300 off your first month's rent in London. If you'd like to get involved and speak or just help promote our graduate webinars, please do get in touch and email me. The content guest blog that I was referring to, email contact@giveagradago, and then of course our Facebook group and YouTube channel. We're also doing, it is a competition, but it's also a way to get a bit of experience and boost your CV, adding and creating content for our YouTube channel at the moment. So there's more information of that on our website. But yeah, if anyone's interested in anything that I've been rattling on at you all about, please drop me an email and I can help you out and point you in the right direction.
Brilliant. And we do have some questions already in the Q&A section, and please everybody feel really free to ask some more. But I love this, so I think it's a quite good question to ask next. What was your worst interview of someone, and how could you recommend a person could improve this? So Izzy and Carrie, why don't you both do that? Because they'll be different, I hope. But yeah, Izzy, what was your worst interview?
Oh, that's tough. I think It's just going in, and if you've got an interview scheduled, being under prepared, you should be doing the minimum of researching the company and why it's interesting and why you want to work there. And like Katie mentioned, we have so many free blogs to help people prepare with that and the kind of questions that you might be asked and the kind of answers that employers are typically looking for. So there's not sort of one oh my goodness moment that stands out in my mind, but it's just a lack of preparation and a complete lack of proactivity that never goes down particularly well, which it might be a bit of a boring answer, but that's probably my honest answer.
Do you have like 4 key ways that people could research a company or do their research beforehand? I always think you should look at the LinkedIn profile of the people, so who you're actually talking to, the brand identity or who the clients are. But do you have like any key points?
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. LinkedIn, look at who is going to be interviewing you. And LinkedIn is great for a summary of the company in like a nice, clear way, because I think sometimes companies' brands can be really quite waffly and you're sort of like, I don't know what you do. But the best thing I always think is, imagine if a friend or family member said, who are you interviewing for? What do they do? What would you say to them? And if you can answer that question, that is, you're 50% of the way there. And so again, I probably point everyone to the blogs for sort of bullet points of what areas to look at. But to summarize it, you check who's interviewing you, go on LinkedIn, figure out what the company do, be able to answer why you want to work there. That's so important. And this is more to help you practice saying your answers out loud before you go into the interview. The difference between candidates that get the job, and I even get people who have 4 years experience to do this before they go in, to the people that have practiced and pretended that they're speaking to the interviewer out loud are the ones that get the offer over people that just try and memorize it all in their heads. So quite simplistic, but it works very well.
Brilliant. And Carrie, can you give us a terrible interview and what the person could have done to make it better?
The ones which always surprise me a little bit are, we give everyone, before someone comes in for an interview with us, that they'll get given this is an overview of what their interview is going to look like, and in there it will be the final part of this, you'll have a chat with our CEO, managing director, Carrie. So the number of interviews which I'll walk in, introduce myself, and I'll be quite open and say, is there anything you want to ask me? And when someone's first question is, so what is it you do? would imply that no one, that person hasn't taken the time to have, and that's not a vanity thing. It just shows me that person just hasn't really spent any time even looking through our website. And to Iz's point, I think the really, really, really important one, because quite a few people, no one really ever leaves university to say, I'm going to go into recruitment. More often than not, you fall into it just because of what it is that you're good at, and then what that can add to the company. So being able to answer that question of Iz's, which is, why do you want to come and work here? So that shows someone who's actually taken in what we've said, what they're good at, and then being able to explain to us as a business why they should take up one of our seats. I think that's actually a great thing to be able to do. There's a couple of golden rules there. You should be able to explain what the company does in 3 or 4 sentences. You should be able to explain why you want to work there fairly succinctly within 30 seconds. That no waffle type approach, keeping everything concise, but then also being really measured and show that you've actually taken the time to research. That they're all big kind of tick boxes for us.
And questions as well. That's something that is so important. At the end of an interview, you can even write some down before you go in case you think, I'm not going to be able to think of them on the spot. You should always have at least 2 meaningful questions ready to go, not about what's salary or what's a holiday allowance. It might be specifically about the company culture, it might be about the role, but that is essential for most employers to get you to go back to a second interview or to get the job.
Yeah, I'd like to add as well. I remember when I had a slightly rocky start joining Give a Grad a Go after the interview process, but I got tonsillitis really badly and couldn't start. So I guess although it wasn't for the interview, it was when we were starting. But sort of leading on from that, I sort of called up and said, "I'm really sorry, this is the situation," and now I'm glad I did. And I think in an interview process, it's always good to be honest. And another example of that was sort of goes back to talking about the marketing side of things. I had no experience in the digital side. And when I was asked this by Carrie and by the managers at Give a Grad a Go, I said, I don't actually have any experience in that. I've researched what it is and I'm really interested to learn. And I think quite a lot of people feel that they need to be able to answer every single question. And if there is something small like that, that you do have some experience in, or you've shown willing to learn with it, that's okay. And it's actually better to be honest and say, I'm not too sure. However, I've done a bit of research and I would like to know more and I'm keen to, rather than saying an answer when you don't know and trying to make it up. Yeah, the only thing I would add to that as well.
I was just thinking about the worst interview I ever conducted. And unfortunately, it was with somebody who obviously when they were nervous, they sweated a lot. I mean, really sweated a lot. And I kick myself to this day afterwards that I hadn't even offered them a glass of water, which is, really poor interview technique. But what it does make me think is that if you are aware when you're nervous that you might sweat or you might do things, then you should probably have prior planning enough to think, well, if I do sweat, carry a handkerchief or something, because I spent the whole interview just watching the person drip onto the table. And very hard, therefore, to concentrate on what the person was talking about, rather than feeling terribly sorry for them. So I do think that, you've got to be self-aware as well within an interview practice. And coming back to what you said, Izzy, that, practice, but also practice if you are a nervous person or that aren't very good at eye contact or anything like that. Then practice with your family or your friends having that eye contact and making that eye contact, which is so important in an interview, I think.
And I think, interviewers typically want you to do really well, that they're rooting for you to be awesome in that interview. And that's something to remember. You're not going in to be tried to tripped up and embarrassed. You're going in to sell yourself and you've been invited in for a reason, and it's going in with that mentality.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So we have another question here. Does Give a Grad a Go focus on employers mainly in London region, or do you have employee opportunities in the north, in Manchester, for example?
No, we're actually all over the UK. Most of our roles are based in London, as that tends to be graduates' preference. But at the moment, I've got interviews going on in a Southampton role, recently placed in Wales. We've worked in Manchester before. Like, the hub of our activity is in London, and that's more driven by demand from employers and candidates. But absolutely, we can work over the UK.
What Down done is actually helped businesses outside of London start to attract a lot more people. There's either the allure of people moving to London has slightly faded off a little bit, but also with remote working now likely to be even more prevalent in nearly every business and every role going forward, then you don't have to be focused on moving to London necessarily to look at some great jobs. So there are a small benefit to have come out of what's been happening to us over the last 10 months.
Now, Carrie, you mentioned earlier that often recruitment isn't people's first choice when they leave university. Do you think that it's useful for people to have had work in other places, to have a more understanding of the kind of the broader work environment to become a recruiter, or is it a role that you can take straight out of university as a graduate role?
I think yes. I think so. The bar jobs and the waitressing, front of house, things like that, all dedicated with the fundraising. Something where you've actually had to approach people who you don't know, strike up a conversation with people you don't know, and then enjoyed it and got good results. that doesn't have to be in an office picking up a phone and dialing a number to someone that you don't know. Equally though, a large part of recruitment is, you're on the phone or you're doing a video interview. So you need to be comfortable with doing that. And quite a few of the people that work for us have had a little bit of experience with picking up a telephone, calling someone, striking up a conversation, and then that not having terrified them. That is a part of what we do. So if the idea of that is like, well, that sounds awful, recruitment might not be the best, the best first selection for you.
I mean, sometimes we don't want to focus on any negatives of coming out of COVID, but there are some stats that have come out recently. It says, one is from the Sutton Trust saying 46% of students say they're less likely to find a graduate job because of COVID, which I'm sure you guys have been doing loads of research on all of this. So my question is, if people feel that their CV isn't very extensive at the moment, there aren't any massive standout things that they've got, what could people be doing now to enhance their CV so they can get ahead when they're hitting the graduate market?
Who wants to go with that?
All of you.
Katie.
I was gonna I'll add something really quickly before you say, Carrie. I think do anything that you think sort of going on from what Carrie said shows results and shows willing. I think getting involved in any kind of project, and something really simple and easy to do, for example, could be starting up an Instagram page. Perhaps you're trying to influence with a certain movement or get involved selling some products on Etsy as a sort of side hustle, and you're quite creative. Anything like that, even if you're not generating billions of revenue or it's not a proper employment as per se, it's still great experience. And I think just showing that you're willing to get up and do something will really, really make you stand out.
And get on our blogs as well. We have so many free webinars, blogs across LinkedIn as well. There are so many resources available. And you don't need to be paid to attend them, but you can say attended this. You're using your free time and you're being really productive to increase your knowledge of commercial environments, and that's something that employers will love. So don't worry that it's not employment. It is a case of showing willing and productivity, which everyone would love.
Yeah. Just to add to that, there are a lot of companies out there, not just us, there's a lot of companies out there who are now trying to help upskill people and put on courses for free. We've actually been quite blown away by the amount of effort companies are putting in just to try and help people with kind of like where they know they're going to be at home and it's stuck inside. So that upskilling part, there's loads of like courses you can do on digital marketing and on teaching yourself some coding as well, which might sound terrifying if you're not a maths or physics grad, but from what we can see, the coding courses that you can go on, which free, they appeal, and they should attract to people with history degrees and geography degree, any type of background, but where you can get on that and just get your teeth stuck into it and show that you've done that. That would be all the more credit to you.
That's great. That's really cool. Do you have, guys, any kind of final words you want to say to the people listening today? Anything that come out of this chat that you think, well, do you know what? This is my final word on it.
I'd say my final word really quickly, because I appreciate that I've tried to speak about 1,000,001 different things that we do, because it's just reminded me from our last question about the online courses. Yes, and one of our partners, Graduate Coach, they're offering a free 3-week online course at the moment, which we can share around. And if there's absolutely anything or any questions or anything that you think you want to get involved with, or if you're not sure what you want to get involved with, but you want to, please do reach out and get in touch, and we can send you over the full extensive and probably more neatly summarized version of everything we've done.
Really good. Izzy, do you have any last words at all?
Yeah, I think it's really tough for young people and graduates right now, and there's a lot of doom and gloom in the news, and it's probably actually a really scary time. And my advice would be, don't get overwhelmed. You know, you'll be surprised at the opportunities that can come to your door, and really embed yourselves with the free opportunities that are presented to you. And, you know, I am always happy to look at CVs and give advice, and, you know, see what we can do to support a junior network. That's what we're all about. You know, it's not just about placing graduates to clients, it's about us supporting the junior network too. And that's something, you know, I always want to be at the forefront of our vision and our company, and we're always on hand to answer those questions.
Thank you. Carrie?
Closing bits from me. You know, we've spoken about quite a varied approach to recruitment. You know, because we're not sector specific. What we encourage anyone to do, whether they're looking at sales or a role in recruitment. I mean, a large part of recruitment is still a sales role. Is that to really enjoy it and get the most out of it, you really need to enjoy the sector that you're actually working in. So you might be someone with a science-based degree, or someone with a really kind of specialized type of degree. You can use that with the sector that you recruit into. So, you know, and so there's a recruitment company for every single sector. Well, there's actually hundreds of recruitment companies for every single sector out there. So if your passion is digital marketing, but you don't necessarily want to be a digital marketer, but you really like digital as a sector, digital recruitment would be a great angle for you to go into, because you'll enjoy learning it, you'll enjoy building your network and talking to the people that work within the sector, and it then becomes a whole lot more interesting. So, and you'll be a lot more likely to stick at it. So make sure you're really focused and targeted with the sectors that you're actually approaching.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I found it fascinating, and I've just had somebody from the chat has just said, thank you. As a final year student, the webinar has been really insightful, and that's what obviously we all have hoped that we've been as possible. And as we said, please, everybody who's listening, tell your friends about the webinar, because it will be available not only on the Talent Tap webpage, which is www.thetalentat.com Zoominars, but also I'm sure it will be up and available as well on the Give the Grad a Go site. So thanks again, all three of you, for all your time today. It's been really helpful and yeah, as I said, very insightful. So yeah, so thanks a lot, and I'm going to end the webinar now. So goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thanks.